Welcome to the ManXchange podcast hosted by Coach Alfonso Short. Join him each week on Saturday mornings as he engages with his guests and they discuss men leading, boys thriving, and communities winning. The conversation is underway.
Good day to everyone. I'm Coach Al Short. I hope that you've had a great week and that you're having an excellent weekend to this point. Today, I'm excited about my guest, someone very dear and close to me. I'm going to introduce him and then he will give a small bio or a little something about himself that he cares to share. And we'll get into some ManXchange. That's conversation. Again, ManXchange, my whole goal is that we can bring men together where we have the opportunity to share with each other. We can be informed about things. We can be heard. We can be whole. We can be healed if it's things to do. Most of all, we can be transformed. And that comes with being transparent. My guest today is Mr. Larry Chandler. Mr. Chandler, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, just fine. How are you today?
All right. I'd like for you to share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Larry Chandler. I grew up in North Carolina, central North Carolina, and I was an employee with a major telecommunications company for 42 years, and I've been retired now about 10. And not to exactly date myself, but although I'm retired, I'm actually a realtor now, and I participate quite a bit at my church.
Okay. Mr. Chandler, I like to myself give a little bit more. He's an excellent man. I had the opportunity actually to be his best man in his wedding. And I really approved of the lady that he married because she happens to be my mother. So Mr. Chandler is my stepfather. and they've been married now almost 30 years, to 30 years in next month. I know him very well. He's a man of integrity, most of all, and he's not only a God-fearing man, but he's a God-loving man, and he's a family man. More than anything, he has a quiet way of guidance and leadership in everything he does through his marriage with my mother, through his relationship with me as a person and as a man, and the way he operates within his church family. He's consistent in everything he does, and that to me means the world because it gives me a standard to live by. And as we talk about standards, Larry, and this is no disrespect in calling Larry because that's what he has let me know. I could call him Larry for 30 years now. And, and we're okay with that. So is that looking at today's society, and we have these conversations all the time when we're in North Carolina visiting you at the house, is that we know that there is a generational gap in communications, and through your work of 40 years with the company and through the work you do as a real estate agent and your commitment to the church, how have you seen, or what are some of the challenges you have in seeing, trying to mend the generational gap of how we communicate and interact, man to man, young man to man, however that situation is for you?
Yes, I've seen during the course of my lifetime, I noticed it when I was growing up, there seemed to be more respect for older generation. We would call them old men at the time, which I guess that's what I am now. But nowadays, it seems like the younger generation, a lot of young men, they're sort of intimidated. And I think it's up to the older men to sort of break that barrier because you can't interact unless you communicate with each other. And I think sometimes some of the younger men are afraid of being just shot down instead of being listened to. And so I think, although hopefully as we grow older, we as men should be wiser, I think part of that wisdom comes from listening to our younger peers and just seeing what's on their mind, because the only thing that doesn't change is change. Change is constant.
I think that's what you're saying is something. I had a conversation with another individual and actually a couple people recently about how we have to be held responsible as more seasoned, mature adult men to not only reach back, but to have an open ear and be open minded to listen to how that next generation coming up behind us, how they're making their moves, what they're thinking about. They have a different perspective on how they see things. To us, sometimes we can say things are moving fast, but it's really at the speed that they're engaged in on a regular basis. So we need to communicate with them so that they can explain to us what they're dealing with, how they see it, and we're not as quick to discharge that you're doing something wrong. That's not the way to do it, because we know in life there's no textbook to give you the perfect roadmap to this is how you should carry your life out, and these are the things that's going to happen, because we can't predict any of that. But we, like you said, we can understand that change is going to happen whether we want it to or not. And not only should we adapt to it, we should acclimate ourselves to it so that it be to benefit, that it's an asset to us and not a liability. And we're not a liability to those who are using technology and change in where they're going. Um, Now, when you speak of all the different things you've done, now I want you to at least take this to the workplace of when you started with your company some 40 years ago, when you started with your company, how you were met with those older people that saw you coming in and how they helped you, or you felt like you didn't know if you could trust. Are they helping me? Or are they setting me up to fail?
Yes, when I started with the company, well, I'm a minority. Went into a minority work environment. Out of about the crew, the general crews, we had several crews. We would go into a work center each morning, and there would be approximately 40 men. And out of those 40 men, and some females came along a little later, about five of those men would be African American. And you learn that you just have to take individuals one on one, regardless of their racial makeup, because you find out you can learn something from anyone. I can learn something from a racist. It may not be something I want to learn, but it's something that I can put in my file that I can use later on. And you learn that people are people, and for the most part, people, or men especially, they should be trying to get to the same goal as I am. They may try a little different. Some men, they exhibit an aura of bravado because they won't say, "Oh, this is how a man is supposed to act," and that may be for some men. But I found out if you just be yourself, everyone's not going to like you. But if you're yourself, you're genuine to yourself, and you can sleep at night. And you're not constantly worrying about, well, who likes me, or why doesn't this person like me? What I need to do to get them to like me. Once you realize that, and you know you're true to yourself and trying to be what God wants you to be, you'll be okay.
Yes, I believe in what you're speaking of is a peace, and we may even say a perfect peace, because you can live with yourself and your own conscience and with your values in life. And I know this has to go back that your core value system started with how you were brought up. So, what's the little background of you growing up as a young person?
Sure. I grew up as a young person. I'm the oldest of six siblings, four boys and two girls. And I've since, I have two brothers that, although they were younger than me, they're deceased. But we grew up, and we were probably poor. My parents worked. My mom stayed at home until we all started to school, and then she went to work. My dad, he was a maintenance worker. We lived on a 500-acre country club with a fishing lake like 300 yards behind the house. You know, we thought every kid had a lake in their backyard, and we found out when we went to school they did. But although it was in the suburbs, what you call the suburbs now, it was very private. My playmates were my brothers and sisters. And my parents struggled, but we always knew we were loved by the way they treated us. And I never saw my dad abuse my mom or my mom abuse my dad. If they had differences, they never showed it among us kids.
Yes. And now also explain to those who you said you were on a 500 acres that the acres were not your acres, your
Of
family's
course
acres.
not. No, no. My dad worked for that company. He was like what they called a laborer at the time. He later became a maintenance man. But it was owned by Jefferson Standard Life Insurance Company, which is now Lincoln Financial. It was a former cattle farm, and they turned it into a country club. And of course, we saw people going to the country club that didn't look like us. Yeah.
Now, in your interests, Larry's background is with technology, more or less, and the company he worked with, he was a master expert, so to say, in technology. He was my computer man when we lived in the area, proximity where they were. What was your interest, or how did you discover that more or less you were a fix-it man?
Okay. Well, I guess maybe some of it was inherited, but I remember a case where I was in the fourth grade one time, and an electrician came in and was actually changing bulbs in our classroom while the teacher was trying to teach class. That wouldn't be heard of today, but it happened back then. And I guess I was paying too much attention to what the electrician was doing because my teacher asked me, "Do you want to help him?" And my words were yes. That was not the right answer as far as she was concerned. But I finally noticed that I had an interest in like communications and how things work. And it just developed over time. And I found out communications has to do a lot with electronics. And electronics do things you can't see with the naked eye. You can't feel, but you know if you put in a certain condition on one end, it should come out a certain way on the other. If it doesn't, it's your job to be able to troubleshoot it and find out why.
Yes. And in your line of work throughout the years, have you had opportunity to more or less mentor or kind of guide younger people coming into the workforce, and in doing so, what were some of the nuggets of wisdom or training that you kind of gave to them that would help them continue to move on with their lives and career?
Yes, I did have that opportunity. During the course of my career, I actually trained my peers in new technology as it evolved. And also, the last 9 years of my career, I was actually in management. And I had some techs that reported to me. And I had one young lady in particular that, although she was a good technician, I knew she'd be a better engineer. And I encouraged her and mentored her to strive for that. And I felt real good about that because, although a person can do something, that doesn't mean they're satisfied with what they're doing. And if you can do something that doesn't seem like work, to me, that's icing on the cake.
Yes, I agree with you. And also, I had the opportunity to see you transition from the job that you worked 40 years ago into a whole different industry of real estate. And I saw your interest, that it was high interest, and you did the foundational work to see what you needed to do. And what were some of the challenges in making that transition, and what was your driving force to continue to push through so that you could become licensed and become a full-time, so to say, that was your part-time work, a full-fledged real estate agent?
Yes, well, even in my prior technical career, we were constantly learning new technology or new ways to do things. And once I started into real estate, I realized there were like 90 hours of training that I had to have before I could even become licensed. And then after that, you have what they call post-license. And each year you have to do at least 8 hours in this state to maintain your license. And what I found out when I went to real estate school, I was the oldest person in my class. And, it sort of bothered me a little bit. But then once we went to a section where you had to be able to figure out area square footage, math played a big, important part. And I realized that some of my younger peers, they couldn't do math. And so they sort of gravitated to me. So, to me, it was simple, but it's things I grew up with. But for whatever reason, they just hadn't grasped it. So I felt good about being able to help them, but I learned that in real estate, people are people. And as long as you're straightforward with them, and sometimes in real estate, I may have a client that wants to buy a house, but they're not ready to buy a house. And you have to tell them that in a nice way, but show them a path to where they can buy a house. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year or the year after. And to me, that's rewarding.
Yes. And I think it's also a gift and a blessing that you have. It's in building your makeup, your heart, that you want to help people and have them understand the most simplest way of doing something so they're not stressed out about the fact. You mentioned how people, I've been at the house before and people really want to get a house and we can say, well, you have to tell them they can't get it. No, you tell them right now we have a situation that we're going to have to do A, B, C, D to get you there. Give them other options. And I know that's something that comes with, if you're a salesperson, if you're in real estate, then that's what you do. But I've been in transactions of getting houses, seeing people trying to, and the agent just tell them, well, no, you're not qualified. And they pretty much finish with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it's not taking anything against those people, but, well, my thing is to sell you a house and I can't sell it to you. So, you have to go somewhere else. I've never seen you in transaction with that it's not that it troubles you, but you're always trying to find a way. What is a way that I can position this person for another opportunity, for the opportunity of their life to own a house?
Exactly. And that training has also allowed me to I had a young couple here about 3 years ago, and they were inheriting a property from the husband's grandfather. And so they came to me because they wanted to sell it and see if they could buy something. And so after talking with them, I realized, well, hey, you got a gem here. You just need to maybe polish it a little bit. And so I put them on with a contractor that I had some dealings with. And I didn't charge them because I didn't sell them anything, but I helped them to reach their goal. And that to me was more rewarding because one thing, since I am retired from my prior position, I don't approach every client that I deal with as X number of dollars. I mean,
Right.
if I need to walk away, I walk away.
Right.
But I don't end on a bad note. If I can help somebody, I'm gonna help them. Or if I can't help them, I'll tell them that too. But I'll try to point them in a direction where they can get help.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. If you can't help them, then I'm gonna lead you somewhere else that probably would be better assistance to you. That's
Right.
the man that I know you to be in everything you do in life. That's the man that I know my mother knows you to be as her husband, and that she always has spoken of you. You're a doer of your word. You're consistent with what you do. You're definitely a man of the community. I know you wear many hats with your church ministry, and I like just the fact that you do. I want to always commend you, but share some of the things that you participate with at your church. I know that you're a very integral part of really the basic daily functions to a degree of upkeep of the church.
Yes, I'm the church we're at now is Ebenezer Baptist Church in Greensboro, North Carolina. And me and your mom, we've been members there 25 years. And when we went and joined, I had been in church for my life, but I'd been an usher, things like that, but I'd never held actually an officer type role. And after being there about 3 years, they said, well, we'd like for you to be a trustee if you're interested. And so I became a trustee. And I wound up working for some good chairman of our trustee department. And people have their own way of doing things. And I'm an observer, and I may not verbally criticize someone, but I observe or I try to learn from whatever position they're in. And so eventually I became assistant trustee chair. And then in 2019, I became trustee chairman. And we just brought on 6 new trustees here at the first of this year. And in interviewing those trustees and vetting them, I promised them one of the things I promised, I said, I will never ask you to perform a task that I'm not willing to do myself or that I haven't done. And what happened in coming back, I wound up getting all 6 of them. And they told me, they said they had a lot of respect for that because they were used to people telling them to do things. The other person stand back and take the glory when they didn't do the work.
Right.
That's a pet peeve of mine,
Well, you definitely stand to the test of being true to your word, and you're a great teacher at anything you do. And if you're going to do something, I know that you do the homework and research to find out the ins and outs of what's going on, so that even if you can't get it done, you have the questions that you need to get from someone. When you come to them, I've already researched it up to this point. It's not working this way. What do I do? What do I need to do? What do I need to learn? And I think that's really a great asset as a human being, as a man, to have vision that, things are bigger than the way you see it, and you're willing and you're open to see it another way, learn it another way. So what would you say as we get into the end of closing? I don't want to take your entire weekend up in conversation.
You're fine. You're fine.
We could talk forever, as we do when we are together talking. Is that what would be I would say one of your mantras to life, or a valuable tip that you could give to the next generation or men in general of from where they are today, how to move forward with an optimistic perspective?
Yes, I would say that I don't care if a man is 90 years old. I don't care if a young boy is 7 years old or even 3 years old. Each day, each hour is an opportunity, unless you're asleep, it's an opportunity to learn. And as I've grown older, I found out that learning is a constant thing. Sometimes you think, oh, I'll graduate high school, I'll graduate college, I don't have to learn anything else. That's not true, because things change. And we have what's called AI now, which is artificial intelligence. But there was something before that, and that was called GI, God's intelligence, or man's intelligence, which was allowed by God. And if you learn how to harness those things, like I'm using AI like in my Christian walk now, and what I do as a trustee, and it's, believe it or not, it's actually lighten my load, because a lot of the research I do, I put it in the AI, and I get I glean what I get, but then I also talk to people who's done it before.
Right.
And once I merge those two things, I mean, I have the answers. And of course, I pray. You got to stay in constant prayer, because you got to be. I'm not going to be here another 100 years unless the Lord decides to do something different. But when I close my eyes, I want to feel confident that I've done everything He's asked me to do.
I agree with that. And I believe that God is blessing you for exactly that end that you say. And that's one thing I know. And I want to lead into this is a reason why some time ago I presented to you an opportunity that I'm writing a book, an anthology with a group of men that we share some of our life and some tips to life. As I just asked you, is this one thing that you share called the manuscript. So
Yeah.
and you thought, hey, that's a great idea. I don't mind doing that. You didn't say, well, I haven't written a book before. It's like, what do I have to do? And in saying that also, I do have the luxury that my wife, Dr. Nissa Short, is a publisher of the book company. So we know that we can trust the hands that our work is in. And I appreciate you being a part of that. And how is that going for you? And how have you felt? Because I know you've completed your manuscript, so to say. So how did you feel in the process of doing it and in the process of ending it? I know that it's probably in edit status now.
Yes. Well, it made me dig deep because a lot of times you have life experiences and they it's sort of like stacking pages in a book. It may be stacked way down there and you forgot it was there, but then once you go back looking, you say, "Oh yeah, I used this, or I learned from this." That's like my dad. It gave me a chance. I lost my dad when he was 69 years old, so he's been gone now about 29 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really realize until I started doing that book how much I learned from him. It wasn't so much verbal; it was just observation a lot, But he was the type, he wouldn't just keep drilling something into you. He'd give you the opportunity to learn it. If you wanted to learn it, that was fine. But
Yes.
he didn't press it. And I've learned a lot from a lot of older men throughout the course of my life. I've learned things from men. Later on, I realized they couldn't read and write,
Right.
but they had so much wisdom because they had lived life and they had learned how to adapt without being able to do that.
And
And
you had the ability and the understanding that you could listen and learn.
exactly. Sometimes you just need to know when to be quiet and just listen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we are looking forward to getting the finality of the book, of the composition of everyone involved with it. It will be 10 men, 9, including myself being 10. That's going to share some of our nuggets of life of from the beginning to this point of where we are and continuing to learn and grow. Well, I thank you again, Lad, for the opportunity to interview you today. And I also like for you to share how you can be contacted with your business,
Sure.
any other contacts that you have that you like to share with us.
Sure. Well, first of all, also, I want to thank you and Anissa, Dr. Short, for the opportunity
It's our
because
pleasure.
it really means a lot, especially when I feel I can share something to either help someone else, younger men, or to learn something. So that means a lot. And I can be contacted at Larry Chandler. My email address is Chandler, CHANDLER.Larry@gmail.com. And I also have a real estate address, but my cell number is 336-686-8844. As a real estate agent, I will say I get a lot of calls. A lot of times I let them go to voicemail because at least 25% of the time they're trying to sell me something new. It may work for one agent, but that doesn't mean it'll work for me. So, those are 2 ways I can be contacted.
All right. Thank you so much. And once again, you have a great weekend. Tell my mom I say hello. I love her.
It will. I
and
definitely
and
will.
and to the audience, and thank you for participating with us today. And please share the information that ManXchange can be seen on YouTube if they missed it. I can be contacted at alfonsoshort@yahoo.com. And also, I can be contacted on Linktree, Coach Al Short. For everyone, you have a great weekend. Stay safe, and I hope to see you on next week. Take care.